So the essentials, part 4 of essential oils, history and use. Just a reminder, some first things to keep in mind is that the educational information that we share here is information only, and that it's just another health tool in your quiver of tools that you can use to maintain wellness. It's not to be construed as medical advice, and that you should always do your own due diligence when anything new comes across your horizon, whether it be a product or a modality or a method. Just make sure you check it out well for yourself before just jumping into it. And that the material here is not exhaustively comprehensive. So just some things to keep in mind. So we're going to talk initially here about some basic principles of precaution that one should take when beginning using essential oils. Just remember that it's concentrated and that a little bit goes a long way. We're talking about drops at a time. 1 to 2 drops, use that, assess your tolerance for it before you would increase the amount that you would use. In fact, when it's used as a flavoring, just a drop or 2 will do. You don't need to use very much or it can overpower whatever it is you're flavoring. So you can apply oils in different ways. Neat is a term that's referred to when oils are used directly without a carrier oil, topically on the skin. For example, there are some oils that are hot that can burn or have a sensation of heat or an uncomfortable sensation, and those need to be cut with a carrier oil. And basically that just extends it and reduces its potency on direct application. It doesn't affect its potency as far as its therapeutic nature. It continues to have that, but it makes it so that it's not so concentrated. Remember that it's a lot of plant material that's been condensed into that 1 drop. If you're not sure if it should be diluted or not, just go ahead and dilute it. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. So if there's any kind of irritation experienced, if there's itching or hives or anything that you can directly correlate to the application, go ahead and stop it right away. Because if you happen to have an allergy to a particular plant that is used as an essential oil just concentrates that, and it could have a potentially more highly reactive status associated with that drop of the essential oil. So everybody has a different suite of things that they may be sensitive to or not, and so just need to pay attention to that and remember that 1 drop goes a long way. So check safety prior to internal use. So there are some oils that are completely unsafe to use internally. Others, some will use and some won't. So you need to check on that safety. And there are a number of different books and guides out there for basic information. There's lots of online resources, of course, in addition. Check warnings, especially if you're pregnant. There are some that could disrupt or cause complications in a pregnancy situation. So you want to be careful of that. If you're taking it internally, you want to use it in a capsule or with a carrier oil or with food. Some of them are quite hot and can burn the GI or have a sensation of burning associated with it. One of those that's notorious for that is oil of oregano. That's very concentrated. Even in a carrier oil, it can be very hot, very concentrated. Using it with food, you want to just use a drop at a time and assess the flavor and see if it meets your expectation, because if you over flavor it, it's a little difficult to change. So those are some initial precautionary principles. Also, you want to make sure that most oils should be used with food and not on just an empty stomach. There are other medications and things like that that are also in that same realm. Zinc is a mineral that shouldn't be used on its own. It causes nausea and vomiting. My wife had an opportunity to use some zinc and didn't take it with food, and that's what occurred. She didn't realize that you needed to take it with food. So taking it with food helps to buffer it and make it less irritating and be able to be tolerated better. So check for potential medication interactions. There are potential for various medications to interact differently with different plant materials. Classic example of that is grapefruit. Grapefruit is a medication synergist, which means that they become more effective and potent in the presence of grapefruit. So just applying that as a principle, that there are some oils that can have negative or positive synergies with pharmaceutical grade and pharmaceutical drugs. Keep them out of the eyes and the ears. That's a generally good principle to follow, unless there's a clear indication that that's something that one should do. We were in a situation out of the country, and my daughter developed an earache, and all we had available was tea tree oil. Tea tree oil is one of the safest oils that you can use, and we did actually use that in the ear canal, and that helped take away her earache in that situation, which was helpful. But you do want to just in general keep them out of the eyes and ears. Note that certified organic oils are the highest in purity and quality, and it's an important thing to know your supplier, using them topically or internally. So there are different types of seals out there. There's be very careful with things and oils. It's even more pure than a stamp organic product. You have Oregon Tilth as a something where you need to check the sources process, check around. Just and for your make sure that it's interest, as pure as you $1,800 annually to have. So sometimes they're sourced from places like out of the country on your product have organic standards. So it's fairly hefty fee, and I don't know if that's per usage, i.e. per product. Some companies source if that's like for a company that has larger companies tend to have more organization over their sourcing, and there may be a few fees in and out of the country. The USDA organic there's no standard of organic, but even with that. The essential oil industry, it can even contain up to 5% largely organic contents put in place for consumables for food. But it's been used. That's kind of an interesting thing to know for topicals, anything that's plant-based, and so it doesn't have a direct application in many cases. But people begin to look for that and trust that label as ensuring its purity and that it has a standard that it's measured against. So make sure that there's research behind it, the quality, and then converse with others. Basically do your own networking with people who are using oils, essential oils, to see what they like and what they've used effectively. If there's things to stay away from, that's something that you can learn word of mouth as well. So there's some general guidelines for internal use. So just remember again, oils are very concentrated. Just a little bit will do it, a dab will do it. Just a reminder that 1 drop of rose oil contains the equivalent oil from 60 roses. So highly concentrated. And that's going to vary from different things based on their quantities of oils that they have present. So many are very effective. So research them. And use them for only short term. You don't want to use oils long term. Internally, it should be just more of a therapeutic basis versus a long-term chronic consumption. So the safety also depends on the individual and the specific oil. So remember that there are people who have allergies to particular oils. So just because it's safe for one person doesn't mean it would be safe for another. And some oils have better tolerances for various uses than others. So research into it. Some practitioners that advocate essential oils don't advocate internal use at all. They only advocate it being used topically or aromatically. In Ayurvedic medicine and Chinese medicine, they've been used internally for thousands of years, various oils. So they have been used for a long period of time with safety. In fact, within the supplement industry and the natural foods industries, there's very, very little reactions or misuse really that happens at the same level that pharmaceutical things do, because pharmaceutical things really haven't been tested in every situation and just have unknowns with them, even ones that have been around for a long period of time. There's more death from iatrogenic sources each year. It's a third leading cause of death is disability and death at the hands of practicing medical individuals. So if in doubt, just use it externally. The use duration is dependent on the oil, so it depends on the particular oil, and you'll note that on the oil or in the research about the oils. Typically 2 to 3 times a day for a 10-day maximum, or just never use it. Diseases and sensitivities are a key place where you would use it, and then also make sure that you take with food or drink. So ways to use them internally. So you can use several drops in a veggie gel cap and drink it with water. So I say a veggie gel cap because there are gel caps that are gelatin based. And essentially those are cow hooves that have been extruded into capsules. So it's an animal product. And if you want to steer clear of that, you want to look for veggie caps. So 1 to 2 drops in 1 teaspoon of coconut oil and eat it. So remember, coconut oil is a solid at room temperature, and you can just put it on that, and that's going to cut it. That essentially would be like a carrier oil, although you wouldn't take a carrier oil internally. So typically carrier oils are, in the case of coconut oil, it's fractionated. So they've actually done some distilling to extract the liquid portion so it stays liquid at room temperature, whereas coconut oil in the raw is solid at room temperature. The medium chain triglycerides in coconut oil have their own set of benefits that can be helpful for maintaining good health, even though it's a saturated fat. So 1 to 2 drops in a glass of water, nut milk, or coconut milk can also dilute it or cut it if using it internally. The essential oils, again, only oils that are indicated for doing that. You could use a teaspoon of raw honey with 1 to 2 drops. That's a good way to mask it and brighten up your honey. Or you can use some specific oils directly sublingually under the tongue. So again, some oils have some toxicity associated with them, so that you don't want to use them at all. So you want to do your research. Do your research. So some examples of internally toxic oils, oils of trees with needles, particularly pines, are not to be used internally. Some bark oils are toxic, like cypress, and some have liver toxicity, like aniseed, bay, and tarragon. So they can have other uses, aromatic uses, topical uses, just not using them internally. So most oils have plenty of external benefits, and you can get benefits therapeutically from using them externally, either through aromatic application or direct topical application, to have good success. So don't feel like you're being cheated if you don't have an opportunity or don't feel like you can use them internally at all. So topical use of essential oils. So oils by nature are fat, they're lipids, and they're fat-soluble oils, and they can be absorbed into the blood immediately at the skin level capillaries. So below the skin, you have your capillary beds. Your skin is highly lipid-based. It can be typically applied neat. The essential oils can be applied there with no carrier oil, unlike other skin. So we have thin skin over most of our body. The 2 places we have thick skin are the soles of our feet and the palms of our hands. So the feet is a good place for that. In these histological slides of the skin, you can see that the layers of the skin are outlined there. And the layer of skin that's present in the thick skin of the feet and hands that is not in thin skin is the stratum, which is basically layer, stratum lucidum. It's a clear waterproof layer that gives it an extra thickness. And then, of course, we have calluses that are developed there too that help mitigate the sensations that may be more sensitive on other thin skin around the body. So there's a lot lower irritation potential in the thick skin of the palms of the hand and the soles of the feet. So we have less irritation potential in the bottoms of the feet. Another thing that's not present are sweat glands. Although I get sweaty feet and sweaty hands, but you don't have sebaceous glands. So you have the water-based release, but not the sebaceous glands that we have in other parts of the body. And then essentially that allows there to be quicker absorption of the oils. So it bypasses the liver going directly into the circulation. It comes back into the bronchial capillaries, which are part of the respiratory system, and it doesn't build up in the liver. If you take it internally, it's going to go through your stomach, absorb through, enter the circulatory system, be passed through the liver, be lowered in potency on its way to the rest of the body, and could create a liver burden in that way. So that's another reason to take it cautiously internally. But applying it to the feet, it's at the greatest extremity from the body, and it can enter the circulatory system just by passing through the membranes into the circulatory system, the capillaries, and move in there. And it'll eventually get to the liver, but by then it will have been distributed at a higher potency to the parts of the body that it passes through before arriving at the liver. So other locations that you can apply a drop of oil, typically in a carrier oil, would be behind the ears, the neck, abdomen, upper back, temples, along the spine. You want to, again, avoid the eyes and the inner ears, genitalia, and any open wounds. You don't want to get oils directly into open wounds. Now, there's some like tea tree has antibacterial properties that are well known, but even so, you would probably use that not in like a gaping wound or something like that, but you would just be careful with that, but it has those antiseptic properties associated with them. Let's talk about carrier oils for using topical applications. So essential oils have a low heat of evaporation. That means they're volatile and they evaporate quickly. If you left an essential oil bottle open on the table, it would essentially evaporate away to nothing over a period of time. So it doesn't take much temperature for it to vaporize into the air. Carriers dilute it and also reduce the vaporization capacity. So it keeps it in suspension longer. It doesn't allow it to become volatile as quickly. And it lowers the potential for irritability if you have an oil that's considered hot or could cause some irritation. So some examples of carrier oils. Number one is coconut oil, and there are other carrier oils besides the ones mentioned here, but these are some of the most common. It's an excellent all-purpose carrier, especially for topical use. You're going to use fractionated coconut oil, and it's fractionated in that it has an extra distillation process that distills out the liquid portion so that it stays liquid at room temperature, remembering that coconut oil is solid at room temperature if it's in the raw. So it's great for use when you're using essential oils and lotions and pastes that are homemade, deodorants, things like that. And the regular coconut oil is used in those situations rather than the fractionated because it allows it to be more creamy and pasty at room temperature. So both the fractionated and the oil and the raw can be used effectively as a carrier oil. Jojoba oil. Great for oily or dry skin to return it to a balance. Geranium and lavender tea tree oils are used well, particularly in various challenging skin issues when combined with jojoba. Magnesium oil is well known as a relaxation agent. Roman chamomile and lavender helps aid sleep and stress reduction. Arnica oil, excellent for using with blends or single oils for bruises, pain, or skin inflammation. Shea butter can be used as a carrier oil, skin moisturizer. Just add some essential oils to it for aged and dry skin. Great for a variety of different homemade body butters. Argan oil, so it firms and tightens the skin. It's an anti-aging benefits associated with it. Has high vitamin E content and can aid skin tone when blended with geranium, frankincense, and myrrh. Evening primrose is a hormone balancing. It has a high GLA, prostaglandin precursor, gamma-linoleic acid as a part of it. So that's a carrier oil that can be used to help with hormone balancing. So you can blend clary, sage, ylang-ylang, thyme to support hormone development and evenness. So some other carrier oils, olive oil. So olive oil actually functions quite well. When we were just learning about oils earlier in our experience, my wife used, I think it was oil of oregano on my daughter's neck. She had a sore throat and thought that would help, having just heard about it, and she was starting to complain of her throat burning. Well, yes, a young person with thinner skin on their neck. So I learned about the dilution factor, the carrier oils, and we just took olive oil and rubbed it on there as well. And it took the burning away and cut it back down significantly, which was good. So just a note of caution, just to make sure that you dilute when you need to. Rosehip oil is another good one that can be used. Sea buckthorn. Sea buckthorn is actually the plant on the right there with the orange and the yellow berries. Black cumin oil. So we have the black cumin seed, and this is just a great oil in its own right, just used by itself. It's said that it is used to cure or prevent everything except death, because it can't cure that, but very, very therapeutic in its own right. almond oil, apricot oil, and pomegranate oil. So there are other carrier oils in addition to even these. So some things to remember when you're using oils topically. Just make sure that their use is unique to the individual oils and their blends. So there are different blends of oils out there that are used for different things, respiratory blends. Just make sure that their reactions are going to be appropriate. So use a little to begin with. Assess your ability to tolerate before going all out with it. It's unique to the person using the oil, again, because there could be allergies associated with certain things. So just be aware of that and use them wisely. And depending on the health status and the age of the individual, so age and size are important things to consider, size of the person. Any medication is also utilized based on size. A small person is going to need less to do the same job than a large person. And that's true with oils as well as other pharmaceutical agents. So start small and repeat in 20 minutes. And as you assess and confirm toleration, then you can increase the amount of usage. Just don't overdo it. And then in a carrier oil, you can apply with the fingers to the skin in massage motions. Light and circular massage motions are a nice way to apply that. So some general carrier oil dilution guidelines. You can use them in infants, but just remember they're very, very small. So 1 drop of essential oil to 1 tablespoon of carrier oil of your choice. So that's a larger dilution of the oil itself as compared to a child, which you're only using a teaspoon of carrier oil with 1 to 2 drops. With an adult, this is for topical use, 3 to 6 drops. So it's up a couple of orders here. In a teaspoon of carrier oil, so up to six drops. And again, you'd probably start at the lower end there with 3. Assess your tolerance and capacity to use it before going and using additional amounts. So aromatic use is also another important use of oils, diffusing or smelling the aroma of the essential oils. It can stimulate significant mental changes, physiological changes, emotional changes. The lung is the entry point, and it can be very therapeutic. So an example of that is eucalyptus oil. It's a very effective decongestant and can also be used beneficially to help ease asthma symptoms. In fact, this is the oil that I used when I discovered that I lost my sense of smell for a period of time, was eucalyptus. And you can use that in a direct inhalation just by breathing the aroma from an open bottle. So just take the bottle top off and do just a sniff like the lady's showing in the picture there. You wouldn't want to go and take just a deep breath of it. That isn't using good chemical hygiene. You could waft it or just bring it back and forth under the nose. You never want to sniff something directly. That can be detrimental. The gentleman down below is showing the cupped hand method. Just put the oil on your hands, rub it together, and cup it over your nose. And that's what I was doing with eucalyptus when I discovered that while it was helping me from a decongestant standpoint, I couldn't tell it was. You can also, if you don't want to use it on your hands, just put a drop or 2 on a cloth or a tissue and hold that over your nose as you inhale gently. So you can also access the aromatherapy by diffusing. So essential oil is vaporized into the room that the vaporizer is a part of. It can help improve mood, kill airborne pathogens, and help with respiratory issues. So it can cleanse the air. If you diffuse a blend of lemon, clove, orange, cinnamon, eucalyptus, and rosemary, it can help cleanse the air of a room. Increasing energy, peppermint can be diffused, and that's true. Even peppermint tea will help bring up energy levels. Stress reduction, headache relaxing. Lavender is well known for helping in stress reduction and relaxation and for headache abatement. Just some quick examples there. So there's different types of diffusers that one can encounter in the marketplace. So atomizers don't use water. So there's a machine here that atomizes it. It uses a bottle of essential oil directly connected to it, and the pure oil is vaporized. So it's very powerful and therapeutic. It diffuses it into the room straight from the concentrated oil. There is a vaporizing, which is the most commonly available type of diffuser that you'll see. It's an essential oil that is in water, uses ultrasonic waves to transmit the oil and water into the air. And you can see there's a little bit of a steam rising from the top of the diffuser. They come in all different kinds, shapes, and sizes. There's also an evaporative or fan-based model. So these are typically a lower cost for a small area. You can see that this one looks like it has a USB port to power it. And there's a little pad that you drop the oil on, and then it forces air through it. So it vaporizes the oil into the room quickly. So potentially it could end up using more essential oil more quickly than, say, the vaporizer in water. The atomizer also probably is going to be using more essential oil and may have a higher overall cost because of the rapid use of the oil. Another kind is heat. Using heat accelerates the evaporative process because it raises the heat. Remember, essential oils already have a low heat of vaporization, so they tend to vaporize quickly. So heat versus air to accelerate the evaporative process into the air. And another way you can use it is just a spray bottle. Put it in water or alcohol and mist it. So it's misted around the room or the area. It can also be used on surfaces for cleaning, disinfecting, and there's a variety of different ways to use a spray bottle as a way to get the aromatic benefits as well as the cleansing properties of various essential oils.
To be aware of new videos like this one, be sure to subscribe to the Preparing for the Time of Trouble channel. For more free videos and downloadable audio podcasts, as well as handouts, go to www.preparingforthetimeoftrouble.com. Topic categories include recordings of live seminar presentations, country living, sustainable gardening, homestead remedies, how to be self-sufficient when the grid goes down, wild edible and medicinal plants, hydrotherapy, and end-time Bible prophecies. To take advantage of these free resources, go to preparingforthetimeoftrouble.com.